just to seduce him. I was only 16 at the time, barely an adult, and the sight of him did something to my insides. He made me feel things I had never dreamed of feeling before. I was hungry in a different, more compelling way. I was such a damn fool. In seconds, I had fallen for him, swallowed up by lust, and this man became my obsession. I spent my days hidden behind the rocks in the shallows, spying on him, while Nil circled the waters behind me. The human was traveling with a troop of people who catered to his every whim. At night, he slept in a tent on the beach, the white canvas like a ship's sails, a parade of women disappearing inside, their raucous moans making my body ache with need and envy. During the day, he lounged on the sand, entertaining guests, gorging themselves on fine food. I found myself wanting to try everything they were eating, but had to settle for clams and crabs and sea cucumbers that lived in the shallow waters around me. I didn't understand English at the time, but I eventually realized they addressed him as Prince Aerik. What I did understand was that I needed him to be mine, something I could finally call my own. All my life I had felt so fractured and lonely. My father kind, but firm and distant. My sisters the light of his life after mother disappeared. But me, I was left with Nil, and that was that. No one ever glanced my way or wondered how I was. I was just the third sister, taking up too much space in the sea. Even the other sirens in the kingdom ignored me. Though I was no one within my own family, I was also too different and regal for those outside of it to befriend me. And so I thought, foolishly, that if I could get this human, this Prince Aerik, to become mine, then I wouldn't have to be alone. But he lived on land and would never survive more than a few minutes below the surface of the sea. He would never be a part of my world. That's when I knew I would have to become part of his. As a child, I was warned about the sea witches, beings that possessed magic that let them shapeshift at will, enabling them to live both above the water and below it. Those sirens were the ones humans feared. Us sirens feared the sea witches. They had the ability to grant us wishes, yet none of their gifts came without a price. But I was young and headstrong and imprudent. I wanted adventure. I wanted to see what life was like above the sea. I wanted to become something more than I was. I wanted love. And so I set about calling forth the sea witch. My sisters had told me that they liked shiny things as offerings and that they would respond to my siren call. I spent the evening darting about, finding things that caught my eye, like brightly colored coral and saturated hues of red, orange, and yellow, tiny purple starfish, rare glowing azure seaweed, and pearls I coaxed from the reluctant mouths of oysters. Once I had gathered these shiny pieces of the sea, I swam down to a canyon with walls of rock and coral rising up around me, a place with fantastic acoustics. Then I began to sing. As far as I knew, there was no specific song that conjured the sea witches. It was just our voices in general that might draw them to us. All sirens had enchanting and beautiful singing voices, and mine was no exception. I just didn't like to sing since it made me the center of attention. Unless either of my sisters were singing, then no one would even hear me. But there I sang. I sang for the sea witch. I sang about wanting to make a bargain, about wanting a life on land, to win a man's heart. And after what seemed like forever, Nil started doing protective circles around me, signifying that a sea witch was coming. The first thing to appear were the tentacles. They were giant, slithering ropes with suction ends and puckered purple skin. They didn't belong to the sea witch, but instead to one of the kraken, the giant sea monsters that the witches controlled. The rest of the kraken was hidden in the murky blue depths of the ocean, though I could faintly make out small, glowing yellow eyes. Then Edonia came forward, walking toward me on two legs along.